Up here, I have a whole bunch of journal entries. And for each journal entry, I have posted it to the correct account over here in my T accounts. So journal entries, ledgers over here. At the end of a period, usually that means at the end of the month or end of a year, whenever we want to make financial statements and give them to the owners or bankers or whoever needs them, we're going to take all of the information that's in our ledgers and create an unadjusted trial balance. Throughout the process, throughout this class, we're going to be doing lots of different types of trial balances. The first one that we do is called the unadjusted trial balance. It simply is a summary of all of the balances in each account. So how much cash do we have? How much do we owe? How much do people owe us? How much in supplies do we have? How much did we earn in revenues? And so on. So I have all of my accounts over here, and ledgers can take up a lot of space because the ledgers do have every single transaction in them. So this could be a lot of stuff, but I want to condense it down to a one-page summary of what's in each account. So my first step, after I do all my journal entries and post everything to the ledger, is I am going to add up or figure out the balance in each account. For example, the cash account, I have 12,000 in debits and 500 in credits. So that means I have 11,500 debit balance. Supplies, I only have one entry. It's a $1,500 debit, so I'm just going to leave that one. Accounts receivable, I have a 3,000 debit and a 2,000 credit, which leaves me with a $1,000 debit balance. If you know how to read this, it means that some customers owed us $3,000 and then they paid us back $2,000, and those two transactions are over here. So that's where those came from. So they owe us $1,000 more. So that's all we really need to know for the trial balance is, well, what's that final number? How much do they owe us right now? Accounts payable, we have $1,500 there. Nothing to add up since I only have one entry. Capital, revenue, expense, those all have one entry, so I don't need to mess with those. So the first thing that I need to do now, after adding up all of the accounts, now what I do is I list out all of my accounts that I have, and I put them in the order of assets, liabilities, owner's equity, revenues, expenses. So I actually put them in order up here as well with my ledgers. They usually are in order, but just to be sure, just make sure you do it in asset, liability, owner's equity, revenue, expense order. So my first one that I'm going to put down is cash. Cash is almost always should be first on your trial balance because we put it also in order of liquidity, meaning how fast can it be turned to cash. And cash is already cash, so that one goes first. So I'll write down cash over here. And then I'm going to have two columns. I'm going to have a debit column and a credit column. Now cash, I said, has a balance of 11,500 on the debit side. I only put it in one column or the other. I can't have both a debit and a credit balance in cash. I just figured out, well, what's the total? And it's a debit balance of 11,500. The next one is supplies. I said I have a $1,500 debit balance. I might run out of room here. Accounts receivable. I said I have a $1,000 debit balance. Accounts payable, $1,500. Credit. So I have my first credit. I only write it in one column or the other, whichever it's supposed to be in. Capital. Starting to run out of room, but I'm hoping you're getting the idea. $10,000 there. I have my service revenue, which is a credit of $3,000. And then advertising expense of $500 debit balance. All right, so hopefully you can kind of see what's going on over here. So this is my trial balance over here. All right. So the last thing, I listed out all of my accounts. I put whether they have an overall debit balance or an overall credit balance. And just like in everything else in accounting, debits have to equal credits. So I am going to add this up, my debit side and my credit side. So let's see, this is 13, 14, 14,500 on the debit side. Oh. If I did it right, I should have the same number on the credit side. So let's add that up. 12,500 plus 3,000. 11,500 plus 3,000 is 14,500. All right, so my debits equal my credits. That's all it proves. It doesn't mean I did everything right. Doesn't mean I chose all the right accounts over here when doing journal entries. It just means my accounting equation works. I have equal numbers of debits and credits. Now, how is that helpful? First of all, it can help us pick out some mistakes that we made. If my debits don't equal my credits, I may have made a mistake along the way. Several of things that could happen are, for example, if I accidentally put 700 as a debit in advertising expense and left cash at 500. Debits don't equal credits. Guess what? The trial balance can catch that because we'll see that my debits don't equal my credits down here. So we say, okay, well, something went wrong there. A very common mistake, especially in this class, a very common mistake is you do the journal entry right, but you do the ledger wrong. So let's say you entered this one right. You said advertising expense 500, cash 500, but then you went over here to the ledger and you accidentally typed in 700 on the advertising expense, but you did the cash right. Our trial balance will catch that because we posted one of them wrong, and it's going to be unequal down here because we go through the ledgers and we write down all the numbers. The debits don't equal the credits in the ledger. So it is going to catch the problems where either our journal entry we did unequal debits and credits, or the ledgers have unequal debits and credits. So it will catch those problems. What it will not catch is if we read the entire thing wrong and we accidentally wrote down 700 advertising expense, 700 cash. Guess what? Our debits equal our credits. It's not going to catch that mistake because we're down here like, yeah, debits equal credits. I must have done it right even though you originally did it all wrong. All it will do is catch whether debits equal credits. Another thing that it could catch is, let's say that our supplies ended up being a $1,500 credit. Now our totals down here might be different, right? So our debits might not equal our credits, but sometimes they do equal, even though we look at this and say, hey, something is wrong. The supplies, remember the supplies should have a normal balance of a debit. If I have supplies as a $1,500 credit, that means I have negative supplies. So I can look at that and say, hey, how do I have negative supplies? So I would use the trial balance to go and investigate the problem. Sometimes it's because, well, I wrote it right up here, but I wrote it wrong in the trial balance, and that's okay. Then you just, fix your trial balance. But maybe you go to your ledger and like, hey, that doesn't look right. And so you just go investigate what went wrong in the whole process. So things to check on the trial balance when you put it together. Do debits equal credits? Do all the balances look right? Are they on the normal side that they should be? So those are a couple of things that the trial balance can help us catch. It won't catch everything though. The things that it won't catch are, well, debits do equal credits, but I wrote down the wrong number originally in the first place. So first place, my number was wrong. Debits equal credits. It also doesn't tell me whether I chose the right account. For example, advertising expense. Well, what if I accidentally put something like insurance expense, or prepaid insurance is also an asset. So it doesn't catch that type of thing either. If we chose the wrong account, especially if it's between expenses, right? So insurance expense versus advertising expense, it's all going to end up debits equal credits, but we won't be able to tell just from the trial balance whether we did all of the work right behind it. So it's a good tool to catch some things, but not others. All right, so here's our advertising expense. I'll put it back in. All right, so after we get the trial balance all put together, at this point, we can use the trial balance to now create our financial statements. We would, just as a brief reminder how we do that, we first do the income statement. We take our revenues and expenses from here and say, all right, these are the numbers that are going to go on the income statement. Then we're going to go to the statement of owner's equity and say, okay, here's our capital. Thing with the statement of owner's equity is the capital account, this shows us a balance, but the statement of owner's equity needs details. So we'll probably need to go to the ledger to see all the details. But once we get that one done, then we can move on to the balance sheet, and that lists all of our assets and our liabilities and our owner's equity. So we can use the trial balance to help us prepare the financial statements.